So in other words, when you are, for instance, if I were to purchase a property, okay, I will appoint a solicitor, okay, to prepare all the documentation and to execute them, okay, and this solicitor may also be acting on behalf of the financier to prepare the loan documentations, attestation and whatnot. Okay, I have to actually ensure that there is a letter of undertaking, you know, as a as a as a guarantee that I have been advised to engage a separate lawyer, okay, but I have chosen not to, right? So in the event of the conflict of interest in regards to the matter of the sale and purchase and the loan, okay, so the solicitor is also acting for the financier in the loan transaction, all right? So in the event of conflict of interest, I agree that the bank has the prior interest, or the interest of the bank prevail over the interest of the borrower or the purchaser, right? Betul?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, you ada lagi? Bawah apa lagi? Kat bawah. Itu saja. Okay, what do we need? What is this?
Okay, basically what we need LOA, as mentioned before, because there is possibility conflict of interest in conveyancing matters. Okay. To avoid an increase in excess in the event of claim is made against the firm solicitor, the base stipulated in the certificate of insurance will be applied in the event of claim. Only if only the client executed LOA, the insurer will cover the best access to the claim made by.
Okay, the base access related. Can you hide? Can you zoom in on the figures? Nampak? Mandatory limit of indemnity and base access. Kalau lah terdapat suit ataupun terdapat saman ya, berkenaan conflict of interest ni, then you have what is base access? Okay.
Okay, base access is the amount that is borne by the firm paid towards the defense cost and any judgment settlement in any claim. The insurer shall provide coverage for those amount which exceed the best access. Best access on the firm, and more than best access is borne by the insurer.
Okay, so you have the base access. So if the amount that is claimed exceeds the base access, then it will be indemnified by the insurer. Is that right?
Yes, madam.
Mandatory limit of indemnity, base access. Okay. So base access tu RM ya, bukan percentage ya. Kalau tengok yang nombor 1 tu 10,200. Limit of indemnity above 10,200 will be borne by the insurer up to 250k. Betul ke?
Betul.
You have to confirm dengan practitioner sebab saya tak pernah go through benda ni. But I guess it is something to cap the limit. And yalah, macam to a certain extent it provides security, okay, in the case where a suit arises because of this nature, because of this conflict of interest. So next slide, ada lagi?
Okay, so right. So what will happen if there is no LOA? So the minimum amount need to bear by the firm is increased by minimum 100,000, not less than that.
Okay, clause 10 of certificate of insurance cannot apply to claim, or in such cases the excess applicable to the claim will be a minimum of 1,000 or double the base excess. So this one is a bit technical. Tak apa, go to the next. Apa lagi yang you nak present? Okay, the possibility. What is the possibility of a conflict of interest?
So I will proceed. Yeah, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Dainur Sakina, and I will proceed on what is conflict of interest that might happen in such a situation. So firstly, the conflict of interest is when we find ourselves in a compromising situation that is likely to negatively impact the advice that we would otherwise give to the client. So the circumstances can which is the circumstances that is likely to adversely affect. The first one is affect our judgment concerning our client, and the second one is the loyalty and respect and towards our client, and next one is the ability to safeguard the interests of our client. So in such situation, there might be a possibility of conflict of interest that might be happen. Okay, the first one is when a lawyer give different advice to different client about the same matter. And the second one is when a lawyer are unable to disclose relevant information to one client because of a duty of confidentiality to another client. So this is the lawyer cannot properly fulfill his duty as a representative of the client. And next one is there might be a conflict of interest of a lawyer acting on behalf of one client would have an adverse impact on a matter that he are dealing with for another client. So the lawyer might in this situation the lawyer might give advice to one party which is the advice which contrary to another party's interest. So all this is the possibility of conflict of interest that might be happen in the situation which involving the purchaser, borrower, and purchaser financial when the solicitor act for both of the parties.
Okay. So kalau ada scenario nampak lagi ya, nanti please inform other TLB groups to provide scenarios. So case study. Case study will help us to understand in practice how conflict of interest may arise. Alright, so dalam keadaan di mana solicitors are also acting for the banker yang keluarkan loan, okay, to finance the purchase of a certain property by a purchaser or the borrower. Okay, kalau purchaser or borrower beli property, he is or she is so the charger lah. Charger ni orang yang file for charge, okay, untuk secure the loan transaction. So sebab tu letter of acknowledgement ni dikeluarkan oleh purchaser / borrower / charger, right? And the bank is the chargee. So katakan lawyer yang sama has to advise the client about for instance his or her charge or anything relating to the terms of the loan. At the same time, he's also advising the bank on the same matter. So he has to be very, very careful and diligent as not to, give conflicting advice, sets of advice to these different clients, two different clients. Okay. So in the case this happens, you as a purchaser undertakes that you have been advised to employ another lawyer, but you have chosen not to. And in the case where conflict of interest occurs, then the interest of the financial prevails. So this is a bit risky actually. So you have to decide whether it is best to, as a purchaser, to hire the same, the same lawyer that acts for the bank. But normally it comes in a package. In my experience, okay, if we approach a bank, okay, wanting to apply for a loan to finance the purchase of a land or a certain property, okay, then we are normally advised by the bank to actually to employ the lawyer in the list of the panel banks. Okay, so they have a list of the panel banks registered with them. So these are like the ones that they believe to have good track record. Okay, so kita hire dia. At the same time, lawyer tu akan prepare loan documentation, charge documentation, and I never actually questioned that because I never thought of the circumstances which might end up in this kind of event, a conflict of interest. So being aware of this actually is good, not only as a lawyer but also as a client. So please, kalau ada case studies, please share. Jap, if you can unshare, I would like to share this particular article from Practice, Malaysian Bar Professional Indemnity Insurance Scheme portal. Okay, they issue a lot of illustration directive on many aspects that safeguard the interest of a solicitor. Sekejap ya. Okay, can you see this one?
Yes, madam, yes.
So I find that this particular site, okay, Practice, is very helpful in outlining not only substance but also procedures. Okay, for this one is conveyancing best practices. Cutting out conflict. Okay, determine early on which party to the conveyancing matter. So is it a sale and purchase, and who are involved in as parties to the sale and purchase? Is it a developer and purchaser, or is it a vendor but not developer, like an individual or a company and an individual purchaser, or a corporate entity? Okay, so if you are acting for the developer and the purchaser is unrepresented, you have to make it known to the purchaser that you are not allowed to act for him or her and that you do not represent them in any capacity. Okay, so this one is between a developer, okay, and the purchaser, right? So this extends to cover a developer's marketing strategy. Okay, sometimes developer they buat free sale and purchase agreement fees, free legal fees, okay, to their potential customers, right? Explain to them that the S&P agreement and instruments of transfer can be scrutinized by their own solicitor if they have representation. So you have to be careful, you have to advise if you are acting for the developer, you make sure that your purchaser doesn't get the idea that you are also acting for them. So if the purchaser, however, chooses to remain unrepresented, tak nak pakai lawyer, he must sign a waiver to show that he does not intend to engage an advocate and solicitor. Ini semua adalah untuk mengelakkan isu conflict of interest, ya. Sub-sale and purchase between an individual company or an individual ataupun company vendor and purchaser. So situation B, okay, dia kata be mindful of which party is your client and keep in mind to notify the other party that your representation only extends to your client. Okay, this one is important to cover you as a solicitor. Okay, sometimes remember tak kita belajar about retainer. Retainer can be expressed, can be implied. Sometimes your conduct can be interpreted as actually providing representation for a certain party. So to safeguard your interests, okay, you must ensure that the other party is properly and sufficiently notified, okay, as to whom you are acting for, okay, as to which party you are for which party you are acting, or which party you are representing. Frequently asked questions. What must a solicitor do when acting for the purchaser and the vendor remains unrepresented? Okay, so this is the flip side if you are representing the purchaser. So the purchaser solicitor must include a clause in the sale and purchase agreement stating that the vendor has chosen not to be represented. The purchaser solicitor can witness the vendor's signature. You can be a witness, okay. The purchaser solicitors can explain the clauses of the SPA, sale and purchase, to the vendor, penjual, but must be cautious when doing so, as explaining what the clauses mean must not be confused with advising the unrepresented vendor. So bila you are dealing with a party that is unrepresented, then this is a kind of a duty of care on your part to ensure that the other party is not getting the idea that they are receiving your legal advice. Okay. When representing the purchaser, can you represent the vendor in the discharge of charge or receipt of reassignment? Okay. If you are a lawyer for the purchaser, can you represent the vendor untuk discharge whenever okay, you have a loan, you have a charge transaction alongside. When you want to discharge the charge, can you represent the vendor? Yes, as this is a separate transaction. Okay, in essence, you will be acting for the vendor's financial, even though the fees will be paid ultimately by the vendor. Okay, and when representing the purchaser, you can represent the purchaser's financial. That will be financing the same property. Again, this is a separate transaction. Okay, sekarang ni go back to the we have to tie back to the letter of acknowledgement untuk number 3 tadi. Okay, if you choose to also represent the financial, you have to undertake the letter of acknowledgement. Mungkin in that specific circumstance, there have been like cases where conflict of interest are very, there's a tendency for conflict of interest to arise. So the insurance the insurance would require you to safeguard, okay, your interest by signing the letter of acknowledgement, by ensuring that the purchaser signs the letter of acknowledgement, right? Establishing identities, another issue here. A fraud and identity theft is becoming a rampant statistic. So ingat, kalau you issue your IC, copies of your IC, okay, make sure, okay, to any party, make sure they mark it, okay, they akan slash that it is for the purpose of that particular transaction only, because that can lead to fraud, including identity theft, fabrication dan sebagainya. Okay. So a fraudster can take over a person's identity. So what the fraudster may do, okay, dia boleh fake your IC. Okay. Lepas tu, what must you do as a solicitor? Okay. So you must ensure that the IC or temporary IC has a full name, IC, house address, semua ni you kena check ya. Kadang-kadang you punya klien tu bagi IC yang tak valid atau IC palsu. Okay, bila you buat transaction guna IC palsu, then you are the one who can be caught as also, you end up in a trouble nanti ya kalau ada isu macam ni. And in order for you to defend yourself, you have to proof that you have done the due diligence. You have checked you have verified the truth um, of the details in the IC or in the ID provided. Yeah. So always request for a driver's license as a backup. Yeah. Okay. Kalau you are representing a foreign national, you have to check the details in the passport with the embassy, okay, to verify the document and request for a secondary photo ID. Ini semua kena ambil berat ya. Lepas tu ada power of attorney, okay. Power of attorney ni contohnya adalah apabila saya berada di luar negara, for instance, but I have to conduct some transactions which require me to sign documents, okay, and to be present or to witness certain matters. So perkara ni kita boleh minta, kita boleh assign kepada a solicitor, okay. There is an instrument called a power of attorney where we assign them to undertake the transactions on our behalf, okay, in our absence, okay. So check the validity of the power of attorney. Kadang-kadang orang kata I have the power of attorney to act on behalf of company ABC or individual ABC, but it can be a fake power of attorney. So a power of attorney, the document has to be witnessed and duly stamped, okay, ada stamp duty, and it has to be lodged with the High Court. You have to actually go and register it with the High Court, okay. So there are safeguards there, you have to check. Go one step further. Prior to signing the SPA, sale and purchase, okay, ask the owner of the property to provide bill and receipt for water, electricity for the last 3 months. Ini pun untuk mengelakkan penipuan lah. Ya. Bill, tengok dia tak ada pun address dekat Malaysia ataupun dekat particular state. Ya. Bill and receipt for quit rent, cukai-cukai semua kena minta daripada pihak yang you wakili ataupun pihak the other side. Ya. So the exercise will benefit you twofold. Your identity check of the true owner of the land is further solidified, further verified. Yeah? You will ascertain that there are no areas or unpaid bills for any utilities that will later cause problems and become a burden to the purchaser. So you want to check if the property has outstanding bills, nanti purchaser you pula kena bayar, okay. So benda ni semua akan, you ada checklist lah nanti by the law firm, ya. Land search, ni pun kena buat 2, ya. 2 is always good. Conduct the first land search prior to the execution of the SPA. Okay, whilst advising the purchaser not to pay any deposit to the vendor until you are satisfied that the title is clear. Kena pergi kepada pejabat tanah. Okay, kalau purchaser nak beli sesuatu property seperti tanah dan sebagainya, check sama ada title tu sebenarnya ada caveat ataupun ada sebarang halangan. Ya. Kalau ada, halangan tu akan diregister di pejabat tanah. Kadang-kadang satu tanah tu ada banyak pihak letak caveat. Ya? Tanah tu adalah tertakluk kepada pajakan ataupun terdapat beneficial interest yang bukan registered tapi orang ada interest. Macam tanah pewarisan oleh beberapa adik-beradik berebut dan sebagainya, dia akan masukkan caveat. So ada encumbrances di situ. Ya. I hope you are familiar with the term, as I believe you have or you are taking land law. Dah ambil land law tak? Dah. So encumbrances ni kena check. Okay, so once the title is clear, it is safe to advise the purchaser to buy the particular property, then only the purchaser can be advised to pay the deposit. Okay, 10% ke berapa persen daripada harga keseluruhan. When reviewing the result of the search, kita panggil land search. The purported vendor is the actual registered owner of the land. So make sure that the vendor that has approached you is the actual registered owner. Bukan, kita nak tengok status dia lah. And the category of the land use. Okay, kadang-kadang nak beli, your purchaser intends to develop the property as a commercial area, tapi tanah berdaftar sebagai pertanian. Tanah pertanian tak boleh guna untuk development of commercial buildings dan sebagainya. So, and then ascertain the acreage of land and also the status if it is leasehold or freehold. Ni semua kena check ya. Express condition. Okay, sometimes dia ni adalah salah satu bentuk encumbrance juga ya, to be used only for residential purpose ya, dinyatakan dalam grant ya, tak boleh guna untuk tujuan lain, especially kalau you beli leasehold. Leasehold ni pajakan oleh state ya, state punya tanah dia pajak, so you kena bayar every 5 years or every 10 years or maybe yearly. Dia akan ada syarat-syarat, boleh guna untuk pertanian saja atau residential purpose saja. Alright. So safeguard the client's interest at all time. Okay. Dia kata lodge a caveat as bila you dah execute the SPA, your purchaser dah bayar deposit, so you kena pergi pejabat tanah untuk lodge a caveat to block the land from being subjected to other transactions. Yeah? So your interests of the client is secured lah to some extent. Yeah? Dealing with fellow lawyers, you boleh baca managing deadlines lah. So ini semua just boleh bila you chambering dan sebagainya, always refer to all these safeguards, advice on safeguards, guidelines, okay, case studies. It will help you in your practice. Okay. So I hope we're done with this conveyancing best practices, dan kita boleh move on untuk check your understanding on the previous lecture given by Wan Jurah. So if I may ask you, okay, you have fees which you charge in the case of litigation or conveyancing, alright? So in the case of litigation, alright, what are the matters that would determine the fees that you may charge your client? So TLB 3 and 4 tadi. 5 and 6 kan? So I can call up these 5 and 6. Okay, Muhammad Fakhrul Razi, what are the matters that will determine or will the factors that determine the level of rates of fees charged in the case of litigation? There's no standard fees here. So you have the scale of fees for corporate and conveyancing matters in the schedule in your LPA, in the rules, okay, but not for litigation. But as a litigation lawyer, you must know that how can you price yourself or your service? What are the matters that you consider in pricing your service to your client? This one was touched upon by Madam Wan Jurah. Dewi. Yeah. Fakhrurazzi.
Tak ada siapa nak jawab Dia as
Fakhrurazzi.
far as
Ada Fakhrurazzi. Okay, proceed. Nobody is answering. So, where is Fakhrurazzi? What are the matters or the factors that you take into consideration in pricing your service in litigation cases? Okay, I see Muhammad Fakhrurazzi is present. So, can you speak up? Kenapa diam aja? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
tak ada.
Fakhrurazzi nak
Internet connection kot, Doktor.
Okay, what about Nazira Abdul Salim? As a litigation lawyer, how do you determine the price of your service to your client? Nazira ada? Okay, siapa boleh jawab ni? Cepat sikit, don't waste your time.
As far as I understand, the lawyer can determine their price or their service based on their skill, reputation, or urgency of the case.
Okay,
Is it true?
urgency, his own reputation, his own specialty and skill, level of difficulty, right? And also the amount of work that is required lah. So if you're dealing with interlocutory injunctions, okay, due diligence, so you have to price everything, yeah. So there are no standardized scale of fees, right? Okay. What about alright, can we have from TLB6 Ashraf Abu Bakar. Ashraf. Ada? Tadi Ashraf lah kan?
Yang tadi tu saya lah.
Tak ramai lelaki ya. Saya suka lelaki juga ni sebab lelaki nampak macam jarang ada ni. Muhammad Fadil, adakah? Ada tak dekat sini Muhammad Fadil? Ke TLB 5 tak ada? Ada kan TLB 5 sekarang? Ada tak Fadil? Muhammad Fadil, how many accounts do you have to set up, okay, when you venture into a legal firm? You are an owner of a legal firm, sole proprietor, advocate and solicitor macam Puan Wan Juhra. How many accounts you need to set up, and what are they? Siapa tadi? Tak jawab. Ada berapa jenis akaun? Ada berapa jenis account.
Can I answer since Madam nak lelaki?
Kami jawab madam.
Muhammad Lokman pun lelaki.
Boleh.
Teman-teman.
Ada 2 account, madam.
Okay, what are the accounts?
First account untuk client, and then second account untuk firm. So nak kena distinguish antara dua tu.
Okay. Kalau lah sekata saya nak buat disbursement untuk client, okay, kat mana disbursement masuk, okay, which account do I record disbursement to the clients?
Of course account untuk client, account of client. So tak boleh through
Contoh disbursement. Contoh disbursement. Okay, let me ask perempuan pula ya. Nur Ainina. Can you give example of disbursement expenses?
The example of disbursement, stamping, land search, bankruptcy search, JPN search.
Searches. Selain daripada searches, benda yang you advance guna duit you dulu. Contohnya apa? Selain daripada searches, you photocopy pun disbursement juga. Right?
Yes.
Disbursement. You photocopy, kadang-kadang you pergi, selain daripada search, you buat apa lagi? Due diligence, benda-benda macam tu, kadang-kadang you keluar duit you dulu. So you akan minta balik kat client, reimburse balik, okay? Alright. Satu lagi soalan. So in the scale of fees sekarang, okay, you are allowed to give discount. What is the percentage, maximum percentage allowed? Can you refer to the particular provision? Okay. Cuba tengok S&P punya schedule. Can we ask Muhammad Amiruddin?
Yes madam.
Okay, berapa percentage boleh bagi diskaun untuk S&P scale of fees? Tengok schedule terkini.
Schedule 1 and 3.
Berapa?
25% madam.
Kat mana? Ada tak dinyatakan mana-mana? First schedule bahagian mana?
Alamak. Saya dalam nota je. Sekejap madam, tengok balik. SMP.
Ataupun siapa-siapa boleh tolong, ada tak specific provision?
Madam,
Ya.
paragraph 6 SRO 2017.
Paragraph. Schedule number?
Schedule I'm not sure madam, saya baca dekat page Malaysian Bar, dia sebut salah satu amendment dalam SRO 2017 adalah diskaun dalam paragraf 6, 25%.
Diskaun dalam paragraf 6.
Untuk schedule 1 and 3.
Okay, discount ada? Okay. A solicitor may give a discount of up to 25% on fees specified in the first and third schedule.
Accept that, accept madam.
Okay, except for any transaction governed by Housing Development Control and Licensing Act.
Yes, correct. No discount for second, fourth, and fifth and sixth schedules.
Okay. So kalau you tengok dalam first schedule tu untuk consideration or adjudicated value 500,000. Kalau harga property tu adalah 700,000. You tengok for the first 500,000 untuk sale and transfer 1%. 1% bersamaan dengan berapa?
1%.
10% is apa? 50,000. Kalau 1% 5,000. Okay. So that is your scale of fees. Campur dengan 0.8% for the next 200,000. Okay. Whatever it is, you have to charge a minimum fee. It must not be below 500 ringgit lah scale of fees you. So if you want to give discount, okay, make sure the discount is up to 25% except in the case of Housing Development Act, and it must not be below 500. So itu untuk sale and transfer. Kalau untuk list, you tengok second schedule. Untuk charge pajakan, okay, untuk release pajakan ataupun untuk assign interest kepada bank, dia punya yuran dia post schedule. Yang tu dalam bentuk fixed amount, bukan dalam bentuk percentage. So, berapa deed you perlukan? Deed of reassignment. First property 300. Additional property in the same deed 50. Okay, so boleh flick through ya. So itu saja untuk hari ni. Untuk infografik, make sure ada provision yang mencukupi. Alright, terpulanglah pada awak gunakan creativity as long as it covers comprehensively the topic. Okay, it is not heavy with words because we only want to see what's significant. Okay, dalam image you mungkin you nak letak provision mana. Okay, lepas tu mungkin kalau ada case law ataupun practice direction, letak dalam tu. Okay, so untuk infografik ni kita minta you hantar pada 20 hari bulan Julai. Betul ke? 20 Julai infografik, case review 15 Julai. Salin sikit ya. Quiz kita buat dalam 24. Kita letak 24 Julai dulu. Kemudian satu lagi apa ya? Video. Video you punya kawan semalam suggest, sekejap saya check. Mana? Video 27. Is that okay? Video 27. Video presentation ya. Saya rasa okay kot 27. Sebelum you punya final bulan 8. So saya dah mark dalam kalender. Make sure you mark in your calendar as well. Because these 4 tasks will carry all 70 marks ya, tinggi. Untuk quiz tu mungkin saya letak 15 ke 20 markah. Yang lain-lain tu saya divide ikut percentage yang fakulti bagi nanti. Itu sahaja. Kalau tak ada apa-apa, I shall meet the other two groups, the LB7 and 8 about dua suku lah bagi tahu ya. Kita nak semayang-semayang dia semua dulu ya. 2 suku boleh? Can you inform your friends from TLB 7 and 8 nanti?
Boleh madam, boleh.
Alright, madam.
Okay, terima kasih ya. Okay, Assalamualaikum.
Salam, madam.
Thank you
Madam.
Thank you, madam.